I'm Eric Minnick with Urban Code. One of the great things about AnthillPro is that you can use it to manage all the machines that you're going to use all the way through your application release lifecycle. Machines used for building, testing, deployment targets, all that good stuff. So I've got a bunch of machines up here. And one of the questions a lot of people ask is, well, how does AnthillPro sort out where I do my build and where I do my test? That's what I want to talk to you about today. So the first thing you're going to do in Antill is you're going to put these machines into groups. We call these groups environments. So your QA environment, your production environment, all that. That's really just collecting these agents. So we say I got a group here. We'll call that our QA environment. And I've got an environment here, and that's my build farm. And I've got an environment here that's production. Whatever that is for you. One of the interesting things is, these could overlap. We could say our build farm includes some of QA. There's no line there. So that's a lot of fun. But what we want to do here is, how do these fall into different projects? And so there's a higher level of grouping that we call an environment group. And that's basically just saying, I've got these three environments. My project uses just those three environments. It doesn't use these other environments over here. So we have an idea of an environment group, and that's just this big old thing here. We'll call that my project. Try that again. So my project's environments include the build farm, QA, and production. In the real world, you could have lots and lots of environments. So when I want to run something, how does this work? Well, so let's say I want to take my project, I want to deploy it to QA, and that involves deploying both application logic and database logic, and those go to different machines. So how does Antill figure all this out? Well, first off, I'm going to go into my project, and that's going to limit the number of machines that we're going to use to just this group here. All these other machines, not used. Next, I'm going to say, all right, I want to do a deployment. Well, we don't deploy to the build farm, so the build farm machines aren't included. Just the QA machines, which will include that one. And the production machines, that's legal too. As a user, I'm going to tell it whether we're deploying to QA or whether we're deploying to production. Let's say I do QA. So that's going to be just these machines. And that's great, except that, well, some of these are database machines and some of these are app servers. So how do I figure out which process to run where? And this is where we bring in an idea that we call an agent filter. So if I zoom in here and break this out, I'm going to see something more like this, where I've got 6 machines here in QA. We'll say some of these are app servers, and some of them are database servers. You can imagine we could even have some that were both. Next, I'm going to say that I've got an agent filter for, let's say, the part where we're deploying app servers. So we'll call this the app filter. And I like to look at this really as a filter. So, we've got some sort of criteria that we use to determine what's an app server, what's a database server. That's going to be kind of up to you. You do this also at build time. If you've got a build that uses a Windows machine or a Linux machine, that could be the kind of criteria you use. But I've got a filter, and what we do is we squeeze all the machines through the filter. And so this is going to be for the, running the application server deploy part. So we push everybody down through here. And what pops out are just our app boxes. So those 4. We'll give them their little A apps. So that's how we've gone from having all the machines in our cloud to selecting just the 4 that we want to deploy the app server on. At the same time, our workflow that says deploy to QA is also running a job that runs the deployment to the database. And so you'll have a different agent filter that will select different machines. Now, where this gets interesting is at build time, where you're probably going to have a bunch of machines that are legal to build on. But you only need to build on one machine at a time. And so the game here is for Antill to look at each of these machines, see which one has the lowest relative load on it. You know, who's doing all the work and who's lazy. Find the one that's not doing as much work and say, oh, you're not doing as much work, I'll run it on you. And if they're all in about the same situation, I'll pick one randomly. Basically, that's how AnthillPro goes from the big old list of every machine that you've got in your organization down to 1 or 4 machines for a particular job execution. Hope that's helpful. Thanks.